Emails and messages like that.
Yes?
No,
Yes, it works. Where'd you get the blue hat?
Oh, you're good.
Because I remember them in camouflage and I've seen them
We
in
had,
orange.
at one time, we had a bunch of different colors.
Did we? Okay. I've seen pink ones.
Yep. Pink ones.
Weeds more.
Yes.
When we originally bought them, I was told we were trying to raise the image of the city, the visibility of the city. And they said, I said, well, let's buy 500. Well, I don't know. I said, I'll tell you what, you buy 500, if they don't sell, I'll buy them. We've gone through 4,000 so far.
Yeah.
And then we had a big discussion with Commissioner Livingston, remember him? You probably never met him. He said, want to buy a US-made ball cap. Except nobody makes them.
Good evening, everyone. It's 5 o'clock or a little after. This is Oak Hill, City of Oak Hill workshop meeting. Now come to order. We'll move on to discussions of city priorities. Is the discussion for this meeting?
Roll call. Mayor Taylor,
Here?
Vice Mayor Catagano,
Here.
Commissioner Hyatt,
Here.
Commissioner Warning,
Here.
Commissioner Dollinger.
Here.
Also present, City Administrator Janet Shira.
Thank you all for coming. Any sort of
I thought we could just, probably it would be good to just start and go around, get everybody's input on what they see as city priorities. I did get a list from Commissioner Hyatt, so I don't know if you want to start there. She did her homework. Would you like it? Or do you want me to read it, or? I didn't make copies, I'm sorry. So Commissioners, do you want to go over yours first? Sure.
I had flooding and the stormwater management as the first priority. Then issues with the building after Milton, the gentleman who came and talked to us about how we possibly were being messed up with the guy who's actually supposed to be picking up all the debris. Okay, and then the waterfront committee. We're a waterfront community, and we don't have a waterfront committee or anybody to publicize or do anything about the waterfront. We need to work on that, that's serious. And the last thing I had was an update on the recent acquisition of the riverfront property of the county in St. John's River. And I don't know, Janet, you would know that.
Yes, the acreage that was bought with the county, the city, and St. John's is currently, St. John's was given a time period to go in there and work on the mosquito control ditches and some other things. Yeah, as that comes up, then the three agencies will be able to get together to decide what kind of passive recreation you may want to plan for that property. I had a short conversation one day with, I think it was Mike Ulrich with the county, and things like piers along the water, boardwalks in some of the wetland areas.
That's where we're gonna need our waterfront committee.
Right,
back up.
right. So I can follow up on that and find out where St. John's is, and if maybe we could get a meeting scheduled between their agency and the county and the city to talk about when they'll be ready to move forward with discussion.
Was it 2 years from the time we purchased it? The St. John's?
I think so.
Okay, do we know when that was?
No.
Seems to me we actually closed on that, what, about 5 months ago?
I was gonna say 8, something like that.
6 months ago, roughly. Around 6 months, I think.
Yeah.
Still got a little ways, but we can still plan.
That time.
As far as the waterfront committee, they had a waterfront committee established at one point, didn't they? And they just kind of let it go. And
They
they made it.
had great plans, and, but you never anything came out of it.
The chairman was that guy that lives up here, and he was a real estate agent.
Yes.
I can't think of what his name was.
Do we have some sort of documentation that shows a list of the members that were on the board?
We should. I know George was one of them. I know who you're talking about, but I can't think of his name.
So it was called a waterfront committee? Is that the formal?
Yeah, and then they changed it to something else, remember? It was that, but then they changed it. Right. It's got a much longer name.
Right.
So was it more environmental? Was it economic development driven, or?
It was more environmental and waterfront.
Okay.
Carrie, does Bradford sound right? For his first name?
Brandon.
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 That was it.
Brandon.
Yeah, I got his number in my phone.
Maybe he's watching.
I will see what I can find in the files on that.
Okay,
I know we formed the board, but nobody ever did anything
I think we
with it.
started.
They never ever had a meeting.
They never had a meeting,
I
right?
think Con was part of it too, wasn't she?
No.
Commissioner, do you remember about how long ago it was disbanded, or?
About a year
It
ago?
just kind of went away.
Okay.
It was never officially disbanded, was it? Carrie?
No, he came back to us though, probably August, September, somewhere in that area, and asked about, re-upping
I think
it.
it's on our website, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the Environmental and Natural
Brandon
Resource
King.
Advisory Committee.
Okay, and
NRAC.
it has a list of names of who's on the board?
Brandon King was the guy that was in charge of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Lori Richards, Teresa Birch, Brandon King, Roger Page, Chrissy Karn, Sarah Leacher, and George Ackerson. Ackerson.
Yeah.
All right, well,
Yeah.
we got that list, we can try to reach back out to them and see if they're still wanting to continue or upstart that board.
Sure, I can do that.
Okay.
All right.
You want me to forward his contact info, Janet? Brandon King? He was the chairman of the board.
Sure.
Okay, I'll do it right now.
Okay.
And as far as the stormwater goes, we are kind of working on several fronts with regard to stormwater. We've got our stormwater fee study in process right now. And then the mayor is working with our lobbyist and Mead and Hunt to put a project up before the legislature
Right, to
in
get some help.
Tallahassee to get some help with that project. And then the county still has funds remaining in their Transform 386 grant program, which is part of their CDBG grant funds. And so I'll be meeting with the staff person in charge of that grant program on the 12th of this month, which is, I guess, this week, to
Coming
talk
up.
about the possible funding of some improvements in the stormwater system by Nancy Cummings Park. So we've got kind of a lot going on with that, and hopefully
That's
we'll
okay,
get
I
some
just
best-
want it in our minds. We know we need to do it.
Oh, yeah, been working on it since day one.
Since you even got here. right?
Yep, even before I got here.
So, does the vice mayor have anything you want to add to
Yeah.
the priorities?
So, our city lacks a comprehensive set of policies, and I had talked to Janet about that, and she said that no such documents exist. And there's not, we should have a book that has all of the city's policies in it, and it's for a lot of reasons. Number one is that when a new person comes on board in the office, everything that they have, the way that they do something is carefully outlined. in our policies. So there's no ambiguity there if it's written down and kept in a form that's easily accessible, whether that's in a notebook or a thing like that. And it should be wide, you know, cast of a net, you know, all of the different things that happens in our city on
A lot of duties and
Policies and
descriptions.
procedures.
right.
Mhm.
And, you know, and whether it's as simple as somebody coming to the city to get a permit for something, you know, we should have a policy that says, that happens like this, boom, 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 right down. So if a person comes to the city, it makes it easier on the staff because they know exactly what they're supposed to do.
Mhm.
Janet's job is easier to monitor her personnel because she knows exactly what they're supposed to have done. And the person coming to the city can look and say, yep, I get the same thing as that guy because you have a policy that says that. And it's not, you know, well, I know this person, but I don't know you, so I'm gonna make you do this, but not them because that's a good old boy, and here we go, you know,
Right.
down the same
We
street.
have started some of that procedural wise. So some things that aren't necessarily an adopted policy by this board. For example, Megan has put a book together on, you know, how you get or renew a business tax receipt because there wasn't anything there. You know, we've got things like that, but then we need a policy, but this board or the one before you have enacted policies like purchasing procedures and that sort of thing.
Policies and procedures.
But
is what
it's
we
not
need.
all in one place.
And it's
So-
not all written, probably.
So it's just one of those things, it's finding the time and going through and finding all these things that have been adopted over the years to assemble.
Mhm. What was that one booklet that I gave you? Was that from Treasure Coast?
I have that. And
You have
yes,
that?
Mm-hmm. You want me to grab it?
Well, that is something
Mhm.
similar to what Joe was talking about.
Yeah. And just the various policies, like we're working on like public records requests and things like that, and looking at what other
Mhm.
cities do as far as their policies and how we can implement them here in our city.
I read through it and it looks pretty dang good, and
Yeah.
I gave that to Janet to kind of look at and say, hey, is this something we could mirror or touch it up a little bit and make it for
Customize
us?
it to
Yes.
fit our situation.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think that that's going to be the way to go rather than try and go back in time and assemble all these resolutions and
Mhm.
ordinances that have been passed throughout the years. Would be to find something that we think pretty much covers everything and then tweak it to fit our needs and then bring that whole book to you all to approve. That way, we're not piecemealing it at all. We can adopt it all at once.
I
Do you
agree
believe
with
that a book like that is an evolving document, or is it something that stops when the commission, you know, approves it?
Well, once we have a book, then if you add a new policy or want to revise a policy, it's very much easier to do
Yeah.
that. You have a book to go
Right.
by. We don't have that to start with.
Good.
So, yeah. And
That's-
there's some things like, you know, your personnel manual that I've had to use since I've been here a few times, and it's very outdated. So that would be another part of this book that we could update that while we're updating everything else.
Another thing that could be added to that is like our park rentals. There seems to be misunderstanding, so we need to update who is charged and, you know, who's not charged and why that particular person isn't charged as opposed to this particular person. And also whether or not we wanted to ever change the fee as to what we charge for our park rentals.
Megan's looking
But it
into that
needs-
right now because.
Needs to
there's
be
a lot of
uniform.
confusion. Yeah, and the way it was, supposedly, the way the amounts were come up was just arbitrary. The city administrator, back a couple of times ago, just decided this is gonna be the new fee, so it didn't even come before the board. So we're looking into some fees for those kind of things, and then, once we have collected what we think we need to present something to you, we'll bring that forward.
Commissioner Hine, do you ever remember the fees coming on, like, to the dais to be raised as far as the park rentals go? Because I
I
cannot find
don't
anything.
remember discussing it ever.
Because I remember.
But I know
we
we're,
at one-
we're way too low. We need to
Like
change.
25 at one time, then it was 50, and now it's like to 100, but we were.
Well, it's
trying to-
100 for the tables and chairs, or that
That's
was
a
the way it
deposit.
started, yeah.
But we don't keep that money, so we give it
No,
back.
you give it back.
But as far as the park rental for the building is $100. And, but it's a matter of who pays the $100. Do certain people pay it? Do certain other people don't pay it?
The question we had was nonprofits. You know, a lot of nonprofits
Are not
use the
paying.
building all the time. And, you know, it still requires upkeep, it still requires maintenance, and we're not collecting anything, you know, and whether or not that's a policy decision on your part.
Yeah,
But
we-
we're trying to collect
we
some
have to-
information from how other cities do it, and then we'll bring that.
Do you want citizen comments in this?
Yeah,
And we're happy to do whatever.
Absolutely.
We just
Okay.
want to make sure we're following the rules correctly.
Right, right. Well,
I don't have
everybody
anything
does
to
the
go
same.
by. So-
Right.
Who currently cleans it, and what do we pay them? I mean, do we pay somebody, when somebody rents it, do we pay to have it cleaned, or how?
They're supposed to clean it.
You're
Okay.
supposed to
But if
clean
they
it.
don't, then our guys have to go out there and pick up the trash and clean it and all of that, so.
But is there a fee with that? Nothing?
It's $100.
It is what it is.
But also, you guys may wanna consider, do you wanna pay a fee to rent the pavilions outside? There's very beautiful pavilions at the park, and do you wanna enact a fee for that as well? Because you have to think there's extra fees as far as picking up that trash, you know, and all of that, so it's just, and also we get into, if you wanna rent the pavilion and somebody else wants to rent the pavilion and it's on the same day, we also have ran into that as well, so the $100 usually only covers the building, so do you wanna enact a small fee for those pavilions? It's just something to think about.
so I'm kind of
Pavilions,
thinking,
meaning like,
There's a large pavilion at Mary DeVries Park, and then there's small pavilion.
like Sunrise Park and so on.
Yes, and people do utilize that park a lot.
There's one in Cummins,
I've
too.
seen a birthday party go on there during the summertime, and they could swim in the river and things like that, so.
Right.
We just wanna make sure that we're doing everything correctly and we don't have all the information.
We just need to be consistent.
consistent,
Yes.
right?
Right.
Exactly.
That's the word
Yeah.
I'm looking for, right there.
SOP?
And I do think that, you know, everybody wants the city to be as charitable as possible, and that's a good thing, but that's all good until somebody suffers because their services are lacking because we don't have the money.
Or if we need to, like Janet was saying, what if we have to replace the roof or the windows or the flooring in that building or bathrooms or, you know,
Mhm.
that kind of thing? Then where does that money come from?
Yeah, the wear and tear comes from
Right.
usage,
From
but then the
multiple
citizens have to
uses.
pay that don't use it.
Exactly.
Yes.
And my vision of the whole thing would be that there could be hundreds of these policies in that book, not just this thing that we're talking about right now. You know, it really just depends on the, you know, I just think that it's gonna benefit the citizens and the city and the employees and the commission too, because they're already gonna know the way that, whether something got followed or not, or, you know, because it's right there in the book, you know.
And it may have to be codified, you know, every so often to update it, and we may bring them the book, and they may say, well, there's things missing out of it.
And it should be everybody across the board. There shouldn't really be an exception unless maybe it's some sort of like a super charity event because someone, you know, well, like, Timmy Morton's brother-in-law, when he got shot,
Okay.
we had
Yeah.
a charitable event up at Mary DeWeese. It was a unusual circumstance. Something like that, I could see maybe not charging for, you know,
And-
a park fee, but, you know, just everybody else across the board, you know, if it's
Yeah,
not
but
in
we've
that
had
kind of a
several more like
scenario.
that, for people who have injured or have cancer, and, you know,
Right.
they'll have a special thing for them.
I think in the
If
city of
if it's a
Edgewater,
local resident,
they could ask for a special exception in front of the council. And
Yeah.
you could determine, but that's up to you guys.
yeah.
If we did it like that, right, would it be correct as far as from an accounting point of view? When we do our budget, which is kind of a segue, because I know you wanted to talk about that a little bit today. Like, would the city have like, say, like $5,000 a year every time we make our budget, you know, toward a charity, right? And that's sitting in that little pool. So then when we do something like that, would we take $100 out of that and put it into the park thing? Because we just did a charity thing.
I've never seen a line item for a charity in the
No, but
budget.
we could have one in our, and we should, I think. But well, I don't know if we're in a position now, but that's really up to Janet, you know, to give us guidance on that. But I'm just wondering about, would that be how that would work?
I mean, it all depends how much you all want to be involved in that sort of thing. If it's a decision you're comfortable leaving to staff, you know, if it's something that can be waived with some circumstances, that would be one thing. We're talking about, you know, we get probably, I'd say, half the rentals sometimes seems like it's a nonprofit.
Birthday parties and things.
Well, no,
like that.
not a birthday party. That would be a resident,
Organizations.
but like organizations that want to use the buildings. So, you know, and
And they should all be paying.
that's a policy decision. Once it's made by you all, then we can carry
We
that
can
out.
follow through, but we just need to clarify what we're supposed to be doing.
Poor Joe sitting here
Because
waiting.
right now, we're not, right now,
Chomping
we're
at the
not,
bit.
right
Yeah.
now, we're not charging them.
Yeah, just to be clear, we're not charging right now because
They'll
we
charge
don't
you rent
know-
for
But
staying
we
there.
need to, and that's something that needs to go in the policy book. Go ahead, Joe.
Heard him say flat.
Free lunch is over. The park was $25 in '94, '95, '6, '7. We raised it to 50. And that was the highest it went. So somewhere between 2011 and 2012, it went up to $100. Okay, you're talking $100. That's cheap. It should be $100, or it should be $100 or $150. Not only that, you need a deposit for cleaning,
We do get a deposit.
vandalism. They punch a hole in the wall. You need a deposit where you retain it until you inspect the building and give it back. The streets and roads guys don't need to be cleaning the buildings every time we turn around. We need to have the people rent it, clean it. So you put a deposit down plus the $100 fee, or raise it up, because that's pretty cheap to rent a building. People come from New Smyrna Beach to rent that building. I think you gotta look at the cost. You gotta look at the maintenance and say, wait a minute, we're giving it out to churches, we're giving it out to this organization, that organization. I think we need to cut it across the board. This is the rate, this is the deposit, and where else can you rent a building? You can't rent a building, go to New Smyrna and try to rent a building for $100.
You know, I don't want to take up like the big picture priorities tonight on all these little things. We hear you loud and clear. We need a policy book to bring back, and we need that to include some rental, and we will bring that back. I just don't want to get into a conversation tonight about those little
Right, 'cause we all agree on
details,
that one
because
issue.
we
Yep.
need
Okay.
we need to hit a lot of other priorities
Okay.
here. And
Let's
we
go
have-
back to the
we have- and
comprehensive plan.
We have a half an hour to do that. So I think taking public input is great, but I also think what's really important is for me as your administrator to hear your priorities.
Okay. Comprehensive plan, it needs to be done
Yeah,
yesterday.
that was on my list too.
It's on mine too.
Okay, so a policy book for sure,
Great, that's good.
and then do you have other?
Yes, but my other ones, and I could just go, you know, I was saying comprehensive plan review, extension of the RPU moratorium till we get that RPU, or our comp plan
Okay.
reviewed.
But that falls in
Again-
the same,
Huh?
that would fall in with the comprehensive plan.
Yeah, kind
Okay.
of, yeah.
Sort of, but not quite.
And then flood control, which Linda had,
Yep,
and it sounds like Ricky's got that too, so
yeah.
that's it for me.
Okay, great.
Mark?
I'm gonna hit again on comp plan, stormwater. Impact fees, I think, are something we really need to look at, and also cleaning up the city. I know Mr. McGrath has been tied up with other things, and I've gotten a lot of complaints from citizens. I go to Publix, I go to different places, and they get hit about, different homes and areas here in, Oak Hill, and how embarrassed they are, and how our code enforcement needs to get on top of it. I think that's
Okay.
important.
If you could, I know, if you could, just a quick text or email to me about specific areas or properties, I would appreciate that, 'cause then we can follow up on those and get answers to people. They don't have to, in order to react to a complaint, a code enforcement complaint, and deal with that resident, they have to give us their name and number. But if they talk to you and you call me about some issues, I can have our code enforcement officer ride by these areas and look for violations, but I need to know about them. So, whether it's a text or an email or a phone call or whatever, let me know. For
Okay.
sure.
We have this big mess coming into the city with the gas station, and that all needs to be corrected, and
Yeah.
that's all county.
Yeah, I have that on the regular agenda to talk to you about that tonight.
Okay.
I have an update on
Okay.
that.
Carry on.
You want to go, Carrie?
I
Or you go?
I covered them all, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I was going to bring up the comp plan. I had already talked with Janet in reference to the comp plan, removing the 76 acres over at Cape Canaveral that shows as part of our parkland that should not be on there. Currently listed in 7.1, we have including that property or excluding that property, we've only got 9.14 acres, and we're required to have 12.39. So I went through and looked at every property that the city owns, adding the pier, Sunshine Park, Chung Park, the Powell property, and the land across the street from the Powell property. That would bring us up to 12.6. The community garden is 2.9 acres, but because we lease that out, we can't really call that a city park. I
You
don't
said-
believe.
You said land across from the Powell property?
Yeah,
Which property is that?
the Dixie Road
Oh,
there, that, between there and that old gas station there.
The north corner?
Yeah. It's this property over here. That's, this is Bell.
Okay,
This is
gotcha.
where the
Yep.
house is, and
Yep.
this property here
Oh.
we own.
okay. Where we, okay,
Where
people
we
were parking
parked all
there.
the
Yes,
cars
yes,
for
yes,
the-
yes.
the,
Okay,
Veterans Day event.
okay, gotcha.
But if you add all of that up, we're right at, close to what the city's required to have. So that was a question I was going to ask Mike, but.
Well, what's the question? Because I
The
can answer.
question on the community garden property, the 2.9 acres, if we could actually class that as park, city parkland, because it's not, it is, but it isn't open to the public as like a park would be.
It is
It
open
is,
to the public.
exactly, same hours and everything.
The issue with rewriting the comp plan, in particular,
Yeah.
this is the parks element of the comp plan.
Right.
I have a proposal from Kimley Horn to do a park impact fee study. It would include a rewrite of that park and rec chapter of the comp plan. I haven't brought that back in front of you yet because I'm still working on budgeting for that park impact fee study. So for sure, that has to be rewritten. I'm not at all concerned about meeting the level of service. I'm more concerned about getting that park impact fee on the books before new houses start showing up, so we can collect that money from every new house that gets built to use for future parks. But
I
yeah.
also had the same issue about the RPUD, the fact that we've got a one-year moratorium on it. I know it can be extended, but we also need to address that. The charter update. where do we stand on the charter update? And also the survey, the meets and bounds for Exhibit A of the charter. Have you heard anything from Corey on that?
Yes, they ended up wanting every annexation ordinance since 1994. So
Okay.
I had to have Mike McGrath go back and look for every annexation that had been done since 1994, which was the last time I guess they had updated the meets and bounds.
Wow.
And so we gave that to Jeff Corey last week,
Okay.
and he's in the process of doing his work.
Okay. Any ballpark as
Nope.
to? Okay.
The charter update is, I guess, basically it's a matter of codifying the changes in your code, which is going to be something that we're going to have to pay for. It was not budgeted. So I am waiting on some budget information that, quite honestly, I have been waiting since I started with the city to get a proper budget. We've had a lot of problems between our internal staff here making some coding problems and with James Moore. So we're close to getting me a budget that I can depend on and look for money for things that was not budgeted. So codifying is a cost. So I need to be able to come to you and tell you we can afford that to get the charter codified. Same with the RPUD, I can't get a proposal from the planning firm to do that work until I know I have money in the budget to pay for a planner to work with me on some changes. I'm perfectly capable of doing that as a certified planner. However, my time is the issue there.
You haven't got the time.
It is kind of, everything is coming down to the budget and what money we have to spend this fiscal year. And I'm hoping by next week I have a good budget to look at and say, okay, we're doing well enough in certain areas that I can take some money out of those areas and bring some proposals to you to either work on the RPUD or work on the comp plan or, codify the charter. But until I have that budget document and I'm comfortable with what it says and how much money you've spent and how much money you've brought in, I can't address any of these issues.
Vicky was on the last charter review. That was just a couple of years ago, wasn't it?
It was last year.
Yeah.
Huh?
Last year.
Well,
Yeah,
Is-
everything's been changed in the charter. Now it's just a matter of codifying it in the code book.
is there a time limit for that to be done in?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
Um,
I just wasn't sure. I was under the impression that there was a time frame that it had to be sent to the state, so, maybe just check into that, and see if there is a time frame on it or not. We already went over the park rentals. One thing I'd like to see back, services that we used to do for the community. Can we go back to mowing the outside skirts around the Oak Hill Cemetery like we used to do? Mark Bell stopped this. I don't know why, but
What is it?
the cemetery's like that big, and they used to mow just right around the outside edge of it.
Okay.
And also, for years, the county has always parked their mowers and graders and all their equipment whenever they were down in this area. They always parked it in the back field here. And all of a sudden, now they're parking it down the road. Why? Have we changed the policy that we don't want them here anymore for some reason?
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
that's something.
So
Are you
the
sure that's
priority,
their
the
equipment?
priority is to ask them to move their.
Well, I'm just asking why all of a sudden they, they used to always park their stuff here and now, just
Can
recently
you
that
speak
got
to that,
changed.
Travis? Do you know anything about that? If you do, can you come up here?
Probably talk about that later.
Okay.
And where are they parking?
I think Jeff,
They were parking it down by the old medical
We
building.
don't need to get into it tonight. I mean, it's not really a city priority, but I need to know about these things.
Okay. Yeah.
So I can do something about them.
Okay, and the other
By the
thing
old, where is it again?
where the old medical building used to be, it was just before the fire
Next to the
station.
fire
Yeah.
station.
It's like the health department, I think it used to
There
be.
used to be a little clinic there.
Yeah, years ago.
And they're parking like,
They were parking their lawnmower on the side of the road down there for a very long time. It's gone right now, but for a long time it was parked down there.
okay, I'll look into that.
They were told, Janet, to leave. They needed the property here to park stuff. They were ran off. I came from
Well,
Volusia County.
We can deal with that. This is
Okay.
not a city priority.
Okay.
I can deal with that.
Okay, and again, stormwater, I think we all have the same understanding as far as the stormwater issue goes. If Ricky and I were at an event and the vice mayor in New Smyrna Beach suggested that since all of us seem to have the similar problem of the county not cleaning the ditches, that maybe as a concerted effort, New Smyrna and Edgewater and Oak Hill could get together and kind of
Wish we would've got that lady.
brainstorm on
That meeting.
how to get the county to clean their ditches.
Collaborate together, Lisa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, we need to step up and clean our own too. So
Well, this
we
is
haven't done
true.
that yet, But Travis and I
Remember the lady
have
that
a
was on our
plan.
table?
We're working on that.
Can't remember.
Very good.
Yeah, they were with Halifax Hospice.
Mayor,
Okay.
All right.
I have a couple when you're done too. A couple
Well, I'll let you go and then I'll keep filling mine out.
My top priority, and goes along with a lot of things you guys are talking about, is implementing the stormwater fee once we have the study, which should be done by early summer. Unfortunately, I talked to the property appraiser's office, and we cannot get it on the tax bills for this coming year. It would be the following year. So if we adopt a fee this summer, we won't be collecting it until the fall, winter
26.
of '26. No, 27. 26, 27. We'll miss this next tax year, which is in '26.
Yeah.
So the only other thing I'm trying to look into is if we could do something our own selves for that first year.
As a mailer.
As something to, because otherwise we're missing a whole year of that fee, which I'm just guessing would be somewhere around $150,000 to $200,000 that we would be missing in revenue. So I'm still working to see if we can implement something like that or not, but that's an extreme priority because we need that money for
Extreme.
matching
For the stormwater.
for the stormwater
I
projects.
had a thing on that real quick. Mayor, do you remember when we went to the Farmington event? Joey Posey had mentioned a special district and how that money could be a special tax district for the city of Oak Hill, and that may be something to look into because you could use that money for stormwater and not just new projects, but existing issues. And so maybe look into.
This is existing.
Right.
This is, the stormwater fee would only cover people who live here now, and as they move in, they get that on their tax bill. So anyway, that's a definite priority, to get that on the books. We're the only city in Volusia County, including the county itself, that doesn't have a stormwater fee. So, if we know we have issues to deal with, we need additional revenue to deal with those. And impact fees are a huge priority as far as I'm concerned. The trouble with all of those is, in order to implement a fee, you have to do a study, and they are not cheap. So, you know, I'm hoping that we can at least get 1 or 2 done this year, depending on how the budget looks as we get into April, May. You know, we really need to focus on that. And I did get a proposal already for the park impact fee, and I'd like to go out for others, but we need to look at the budget at that point and see if we can afford to do those this year.
Janet, on those fees like that, is it what's the purpose of the study? For fixing the rate?
Yeah, you have to use a methodology, and you have to determine the rate based on a lot of data and analysis, and
Okay.
yeah, or else they can be challenged in court.
I got
Kind of like getting a traffic light.
Yeah. And then the other 2 things that are priorities, one is the ISBA, the agreement with the county. It expires in September of this year. So we have to renegotiate our boundary agreement, service agreement with the county. I've had some preliminary discussions with Edgewater as far as where they wanted to come for theirs. They're negotiating with the county right now on their agreement. So that's going to be a priority pretty quick because we have to have that agreement in place by this fall. And then
How much time would you need to get that done?
I think predominantly it's going to be the boundary that we're going to need to just get with the county on. Now that I've kind of gotten with Edgewater and let them know what we're thinking, it's a matter of making sure the county's going to agree with us. I don't think there's a lot of other service type things we have to worry about in there. You know, once we set that boundary, we can annex within that boundary without being contiguous. We know the county's going to serve us water and sewer. We know, you know, so most of the stuff's set in stone. It's just the boundary. Where does Oak Hill want to grow in the next 10 years? And what I've done in talking with Edgewater is we're grabbing as much as we can, not because we want to grow and develop, because we want to keep others from growing and developing. So that's going to be a priority. You know, heading into the summer, we'll be doing that. And then lastly, the garbage contract with Waste Pro is up for, it terminates October 31st. So we've got to make a decision whether we want to go out for, open that up to see who else is out there who might want to service Oak Hill or not. You can renegotiate just with Waste Pro if you want to do that. But if we're going to open that up, we got to do that pretty quickly because we have to have somebody in place when that expires the end of October.
And we probably would like to have some competitive pricing done.
Yeah, bids.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I saw the one coming out of the River Breeze today, FEC. Was the name of it?
FEC White Trucks.
Yeah.
I think they work for the county.
The county?
Unincorporated. I
Yeah,
have that at my
that's what I was
And
thinking.
you're happy with them, right?
very.
We've had a lot of problems with Waste Pro.
They drive a little fast, but
Oh, that's an understatement.
The thing is, we need to go through that contract, and I can get it copied to everybody. But one thing I've heard is from the business community here is that they don't like that the current contract with Waste Pro makes them use Waste Pro for their commercial.
right, that's correct.
And you know, there should be a little competition as far as I'm concerned. If you have a business, if you have a dumpster or whatever, you should be able to go to 3 or 4 and find out who's going to give you the best price. So in renegotiating either with Waste Pro or a new service provider, then those are the kind of issues we're going to need to hear from
I
the
agree.
council on, you know, what are you hearing from the community?
Okay.
That's all I have.
Well, with everyone's choices and what everyone's brought up, they've brought up a lot of nice, good priorities that we need to address and work on. I know Linda said the waterfront committee, then have comprehensive policies and books like what you had said. I think we need to maybe get with whoever and see about the sidewalks, how we could get them to continue on instead of just stopping through Oak Hill. Maybe get with FDOT on that, whoever we have to get in touch with for
Is it
sidewalks.
mostly along
Route 1.
US 1?
Mhm.
Okay.
FDOT.
Yeah. So I want to check on that. And of course, you know, with the St. John's water property, we want to keep our eyes on that property right now, and comprehensive plan, ordinances, the RPUD, we need studies. So that's, you know, definitely a priority for this year. So that gets a star.
And that gets a star.
Of course, the Light of Halifax, that's a huge priority for me. It's going to be something just to get on the list with DOT, because right now I think the last date they gave us was what, 27?
2029.
29? Okay, so 29, and that's not going to work. So I'm going to have to go do a song and dance or something. Comprehensive plan, like, see, the pavilion building fee study, as far as who pays, who doesn't pay.
That should be something fairly quick.
Yes, yes. I think some of these items that we have on here, we could probably create workshops to address and work out some of these items. They're not something that's going to require, you know, months of work.
Do 2 or 3 at a time.
Yeah,
Have
yeah.
a quick workshop.
Absolutely,
1 hour.
absolutely. Stormwater ditches, we have so many throughout the city, and we don't know which ones are counties, which ones are ours, where does it stop, where does it start? So I think that deserves a workshop all to itself, just to have stormwater ditches as the subject, and even open it up to discussion for the public to come in and express their problems that they're having, if it's at their house or if it's their neighbor or whatever, and just so that we can create a workshop priority list just for stormwater ditches.
Perfect, because we'd like to hear about individual ones. Travis and I are going to be meeting with the county on stormwater, and we think they'll be able to give us good maps on the system itself, what's theirs, what's ours, maybe some of the structures that are out there right now that they've mapped, you know, as far as culverts or drains or whatever. So that's kind of the first step in figuring out what's out there and
Yep.
who's it is to maintain.
We've been-
And then we'll go from there. I think a workshop to hear from people on their issues would be awesome.
And I mean, I know it's gonna cost millions of dollars, 20-some million to fix it all, but we gotta start somewhere.
A little bit at a time.
You know, we gotta have a priority list of just that. I know they gave us sort of a priority on the stormwater master plan, but that's their master plan. We need to hear from the citizens so we can create our master plan, because that's, you know, we need to please the city.
Yeah, for sure. And that's, again, why that stormwater fee is so important, because it gives us, at least it gives us
Some capital.
something to match what's out there for grants.
I think as far as the ditches are concerned, the city has gone out of their way to find reasons to not do it. For the last, who knows how long. I mean, it's been neglected for so long. You look at that ditch that goes from the Cummings Park down to the Turnbull Creek. It's like a jungle. And that didn't happen overnight.
Years.
You know, I mean, it took years and years and years for that to happen. And I think, you know, this new commission here, rather than try to find reasons to not do it, I think just rolling up our sleeves and cleaning one ditch,
Right.
Yep.
you know, just to
Yep.
say, yay, you know,
Yep.
look, it's not as hard as we thought. It's not going to be 20 million. I'll do it for 10, you know,
Well, and
or
it's-
whatever, you know.
And it's, you know, it's a requirement. It's a federal law. There's a federal law that mandates stormwater. And the state runs that through the DEP. And Travis and the mayor and I have been having many conversations with DEP staff up in Tallahassee because we haven't been doing anything that we were supposed to be doing in the permit we have with FDEP to maintain and work on stormwater. Unfortunately, that is bad news for us. We will be probably be getting fined by FDEP. It's not something I take pleasure in telling you that, but I will also say that the staff up there in Tallahassee has been extremely good to work with on getting us back where we need to be. We just renewed our 5-year permit for stormwater with the state. Again, it's basically a federal mandate that the state carries out for the feds. Travis has been in those meetings with me. He's going to school this month to start learning about what's all involved in that. And we do have a plan from here on out. I can't speak to why we haven't been doing it, but we're putting everything in place that we need to. The issue always comes back to funding. So I think having that new funding source will help tremendously on making sure we're doing what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, because that DEP permit needed to be done last year, and they failed to keep the permit going.
Well, we weren't doing what we agreed to do in the permit, and then the permit expired without us renewing. So we've been working.
Last year.
We have been really, really, really working hard with DEP since I got here on both convincing them that we're going to do better and getting that permit renewed. And Travis is excited to go to school this month we're excited to get moving on that.
Very cool.
I teach him how to run one of those crazy machines.
Spider.
I'm game for that.
All right, and so Mark touched on city cleanup. I agree, we got a lot to clean up around here, but I think we're taking note. We're working on it. Impact fee study for the city, charter updates, meets and bounds, trimming around the cemetery, we want to bring that back. Counties, let's see. I already touched this part about meeting with the county as far as their ditches and stuff. Implementing stormwater fees. I think we also could probably mix in a budget workshop just to bring us up to speed where we're at, because that's going to take more than just what time we have in a regular meeting.
Right. I mean, I'm hoping by next week I'll feel better about where we are on that. So maybe,
We'll set a date.
set a date soon on that.
Yeah. You need to. Gotta
And
make
then-
sure you got enough time to do it.
Absolutely.
And then we
Yeah.
will actually start your budget for next year in May. So, we'll start actually, it has to be adopted by September, but we'll start in May with talking to you about what we see as, revenue coming in and how we want to spend that money.
Okay, and the other two items were things that you had brought up, ISBA and then Waste Pro. So I think we all touched some pretty good subjects. This was good.
Before the clock
meeting.
runs out, I did want to make one more comment.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
just want to be clear on what I meant when I said the comp plan review. So I wasn't looking for something about parks and things like that. I was thinking more along the lines of what's the minimum lot size for an R1 development?
Right, our
Things like
ordinances and
issues
comp-
like,
Complete
the-
comp plan.
Yes, we need to review
Well,
the comp plan.
that's the land development code
Right.
versus the comp plan, which, my way of looking at it, the comp plan's kind of like the really big picture. That needs to be done first. And then the LDR, the land development regulations carries out what you put in your comp plan.
Because that affects the RPUD, right? What the minimum lot size is on it. Isn't that how they work that? There's this many houses per acre and
Well, in a
how
PUD,
they come up
it's
with that.
negotiated, but on straight
Right.
zoning, if you want to have a different lot size in your straight zone, your R1 categories or whatever, that's a land development code change. And we can do that.
Does it have to be done by a planner, or can we have workshops and discuss what we would like to see done? As far as, like what Joe was saying, the lot sizes and so on and so forth.
I think
Right,
so.
it has to make sense as
Well,
far
right.
as zoning, land use and zoning, so you do need a planner involved.
But it doesn't have to be done specifically by just a planner.
No, I mean, of course, they would workshop to know what you all want, but once they know what you want, you know, it would be kind of like, you know you have a problem with a tooth, you know something
Well,
needs
we
to be
gotta
done
talk
about it. But
Touchy
you're
subject.
gonna go to a dentist, you know, to get it dealt with, so, you know, you
So
need
they
that-
could be there to advise us and say, no, you can't do that, but you could do this.
Well, you could tell them you want larger lots. But then they need to be the one to write that into how the zoning would work and how the land use would work.
Okay.
Because it's all, if one thing affects another.
Okay.
All right. And I'll
There's
give you a
another
copy of my
workshop.
list. I'll let you make a copy of it.
Joe and I were just talking too for a second about, we need to see about having an outpatient clinic, some kind of a hospital clinic or something here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tom might be able to help with that.
Do we have time for a public comment? There was a paper turned in.
We
Got
got
a minute.
a minute.
Got 1 minute?
Minute and a half.
You could just state your name and address.
I'm back again.
State your name and address, please.
Jim Montgomery, 119 North Bradbury, or North Game Street. I'm back about Bradbury. I have been told in the past that it was approved to pave Bradbury, but the money was never there, and here we're discussing money. Is it ever going to get paved? Is somebody going to stand up and I can get bids if that's what it takes.
It's a matter of we don't have the money to pay.
But the money's, we collect money, and I realize, do I need to pack the room with the people that live on Bradbury and speak up, or what needs to happen to make it get paved?
We have to have, so if you look at 10 years have gone by where they collected whatever the ad valorem tax was, and wherever that went, Janet's still trying to figure that out. And you can pack the room with as many people as you want, but if we physically don't have the money, it's not like we don't care about it. And
I
want to do it.
understand that. I understand the money's not there. But
We need a little time. to
how
get-
do
'cause
we
this
go
is-
about getting the money?
Right, that's the good question right there. And, you know, that's like with grants and things like that, but the problem that we're faced with right now is that many grants take matching funds. And so, right now, our budget is so tight. You know,
Is
we're
this
just-
like, it's a paved road, but it just needs to be maintained? Yeah,
It's not
grants aren't,
Bradbury's unpaved.
Yeah, it's a.
It's one of the main roads, or not main, it's one of the roads in Oak Hill that's not paved at all, and
runs
hasn't
east and
been
west
paved.
off of Gaines Street, North Grains.
Let me ask this question. Is Halifax, would that be considered a county road?
yes.
Has anything been done about paving, resurfacing Halifax? Anybody discussed that? The county would be required to do that, would they not?
Right, I could see if it's on their capital plan or if they have any plans to repave any portion.
Has anybody addressed it?
I don't
This,
think so.
we haven't, but we can address it.
I mean, if we can get Volusia County to pay for it, but somebody's got to do the work.
Well, I appreciate you bringing that to us so we can at least look into it now, but
right,
I
what
can't
other
speak of
roads-
before.
What other roads would be considered county roads in Oak Hill? Are there any other roads?
A-Town Osteen, he said that this today at the
Yeah.
meeting. That's one.
I mean, I could ask the county if there's anything on their 5-year plan for road paving out in this area.
Yes, they do. They have a priority list on all their roads because they have to pave them every so many years. And it just falls into, and then they have to come out and do a study and look at the roads and see how much traffic goes through it and if it's worth them even spending the money on it. So I get what you're saying.
All right, were we able to get any money from FEMA for the hurricane?
We have, I'll be speaking to that in our next meeting. We have submitted for reimbursement.
But,
Well, it's a process. It could take them upwards of 2 years to reimburse us.
Really?
Yes.
wow.
All right, thank you. You can talk at our next meeting. We were already 4 minutes
Okay,
behind on
I'm
the regular
sorry,
meeting.
just
So-
one more thing, you were talking about, did we pay to have the stormwater on Gain Street, behind Gain Street, some money, $70,000 to have a survey done of the stormwater?
That I'm not sure.
Maybe the master plan he's talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 65,000, right?
Was it 50? Do we have a survey of that, what they came up with?
It's on the website, right?
I believe so.
Master plan, is it posted on the website?
I believe it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, get with Megan
Yeah,
afterwards, give her your
copy of that.
information.
There's my email. If you
All
want
right.
to get with me, I'll try to get you whatever
But
information I
fill out another form or whatever and we'll bring you back up here. I just have to formally start the other meeting.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
so the road,
We'll get to it.
It's on the list.
I'll
Yep.
keep coming back.
I hope you
We
do.
do, we want you to.
Persistence is good.
You guys just want to take your statements.
You want to adjourn? We have to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn the meeting, a
Second.
workshop.
Second, all right. All right. There's
Shall we take a quickie?